Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Marina Stefanova and I would like to welcome you to the CSR AdviceBox studio, the series that help you embed the sustainability and CSR practices in your everyday work. Today we continue to discuss the very important topic of stakeholder identification and engagement. Companies nowadays are really pressed to have this kind of a process in their everyday work. Do you think they're ready for it? I don't think so. They usually are struggling in order to be able to align somehow this process with their core business. Now we are going to discuss with you, what is it stakeholder engagement? How long does it take? How much does it cost? What does it require as an effort from you and your company? And finally, is it worth doing it? Please take a cup of very, very good coffee, sit comfortably, and let's start. Let's remember, what does GRI say about stakeholders? They are entities or individuals that can reasonably be expected to be significantly affected by the organization's activity, products, services, and whose actions can reasonably be expected to affect the ability of the organization to successfully implement its strategies and achieve its objectives. Usually, for a company, these are internal and external target groups, such as workers, owners, managers, clients, if we look at the external one, local or national authorities, trade unions, sometimes even local communities and non-governmental organizations. One of the oldest and most renowned engagement opportunities and classifications is made by Sherry Arnstein, an American researcher who drafted the Ladder of Citizen Participation. According to her definition, there are 8 different levels of engagement. As I already told you, there is no perfect stakeholder engagement plan. Still, there are some recommendations and good practices that you can use. Some of them are recommended from the American e-portal Greenpeace. Let's start, although they are not following each other. First, when you start engaging, you have to look around and see what your peers from the industry are making, whether they are succeeding or failing, and you can learn from their experience. Second, I am completely sure that there are internal experts on the subjects that you are involved in your company. Please go, invite them, talk with them, ask them to help you with the identification, with the drafting of these first engagement steps, together with identifying the key stakeholders they would think on the definite issue. Later on, continue with this work by making concrete investigation in the company, whether, how, when you already engaged with the stakeholders. If you didn't, please be honest and just confess it. If you are already engaging, you have to align your prior opportunities and activities with your further plans. At fourth place, you have to focus on a concrete engagement plan that is following your communication with every stakeholder group. Last but not least, I recommend you to record everything, what you've done, what was the feedback, and give an honest bilateral communication between you and the separate target group. Many of them, usually not very important stakeholders, were or will be disappointed if they wait for your feedback on their recommendations and they never get it back. The stakeholder engagement is a business process. As long as it evolves and becomes more complicated, you usually need to have a more structured approach. I really like the classification of the global think tank Business for Social Responsibility, which is defining 5 steps of successful stakeholder engagement. First, set vision and level of ambition of future engagement and review past actions. Second, define criteria for identifying and prioritizing stakeholders and select an engagement mechanism. Third, focus on short and long-term goals, determine logistics for engagement and set the rules. 4. Conduct an engagement itself, ensuring equitable stakeholder contribution and mitigation tension while remaining focused on the issues. 5. Identify opportunities from feedback and determine actions, revisit goal and plan next steps for follow-up and future engagement. Before drafting your strategy for engagement, you have to understand one thing. This is not management of reputation, neither public relations. Engagement is something else because it goes directly to the core of your business, shifting the powers there and making the control looks like not only something that you possess, but also all the stakeholders involved. Having this mindset, which is the proper mindset, you have to start building the strategy and the vision for the stakeholder engagement in your company. How long it's going to take and which geography boundaries it is going to cover. Be aware of the tactics that you choose to implement. Sometimes you have to respond to a request that you already perceived. In other times, you have to be proactive because you are going to have the change you want or you have planned to. The next step is to map your stakeholders. We already discussed it in the previous episode, so if you want to know more about it, go and check on our YouTube channel. The next steps that Business for Social Responsibility organization is underlying are engagement and implementation. One of the most important things in the preparation phase are logistics. During the process of logistics, you have to organize your event, inquiry, meeting, discussion, everything. You have to start, of course, with choosing a facilitator. Do you need one? Should it be external or internal? What is going to be the agenda of the concrete action, for example, meeting? What do you expect from all participants? You have to define them a role. You have to give them preliminary information and materials. They should know what is going to be discussed. You have to define a place which is quite peaceful and neutral in order to be able to have the most of these negotiations or engagement or discussion. And finally, we are coming to the engagement itself. You are shaking now, I suppose. I would be if I were at your place. Please be honest and transparent. Start by defining how do you feel, sharing what are your expectations in the very beginning, what is your vision, what do you want to discuss, how you imagine the process of ongoing consultations. Secondly, be able and open for discussion. I'm sure that it's not going to be easy during the whole time. There will be tensions. People would like to say things that were hiding for a long time, especially if this is a stakeholder engagement that never happened before or happened quite far away in the past. Be patient, stay quiet, listen carefully, share, take your notes, do everything not to raise the tension among the people, but be able to relax them and make them feel comfortable. The final stage of any engagement interaction should be documented. This means that you have to have an outcome, whether this is a memo or it is a formal document that is explaining in a very profound way what was the issue, what was the goals, what was the approach, What methods did you choose in order to interact with the stakeholders? What were their opinions? What were the things that they raised as tensions or as objectives? How did you respond? What happened during the discussion? And finally, what is the list of recommendations, plan for action, opportunities to change, involvement procedures for the people that are going to read it and be able to contribute following your interaction? I know that money is one of the main crucial issues when you discuss with your colleagues whether to take an action or not. Engagement, you can see later on, can be very cheap, but for every single opportunity, I would like to recommend you a matrix that you can usually use in every case. Look at the following table. On left, you may see several opportunities for engagement depending on the level of ambition. It can be only one activity, or it can be a modifying performance or transformative engagement. The money you have to think of are covering the next budget lines. What is the staff that is going to be assigned? What is the required time needed to prepare this exact engagement event? Is there any internal alignment, and how much does it cost, looking into time or people management? What is going to be the concrete format of the engagement, whether it's going to be event, internal, external, focus group, some kind of a media coverage, whatever. Then you can follow on defining the moderation, which means how often you're going to make it. And finally, how much does it cost to get the feedback and see the results of your engagement event. We both know that there is also a smarter way of engaging. You just have to use internet. Today, the modern techniques allow you to have an online database, an opportunity to have a Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube channels where you can communicate and attract stakeholders, some of which you never imagined of. I know it's hard from the very beginning, but once you start this period, there is a huge advantage. It is not stop and start process. We've already discussed the various advantages of stakeholder engagement and identification in the previous series. For more information, go and visit it. I'm sure I will not have all the advantages now in the list that I'm going to share, so you can just combine them both. Do not forget that stakeholder engagement is an ongoing process that will help you to align all the environmental and social concerns with your core business. If you think that CSR is something different from the core business, this is the time not to change your opinion and not to think so. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with me, Marina Stefanova, and listening to the CSR AdviceBox series. If you find it useful, go and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Then you will receive all the updates for new coming videos online. If you really urge to see them together, go to the website and pre-buy them. Press like and share all the information with your peers. Thus, you will help us to enlarge the CSR community of practitioners online. I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks when we are going to discuss the management of sustainability process on an everyday basis. Till then, follow our recent updates on Facebook. Please also share them. This is a worldwide network.